to Sew, a podcast about sewing machines, sewing history, and sewing culture in the past and present. I am your producer and co-host Aradia, daughter of your main host, T.R. Kelly, who is here today to talk to you about the failure of retail fabric in general, and in particular, the history of House of Fabrics, and in very particular, her experience inside of the 7-year plan that House of Fabrics enacted in the 1980s. We talk about the cycle of small companies being eaten by larger companies who then collapse and make room for small companies again, business leaders who didn't know their business but did recognize a good salesperson, and the recent news that Jo-Ann Fabrics is going out of business. For real this time. This episode is a combo platter of sewing history and tales of sales. Kinda. We're sidestepping our usual focus of sewing machines to look at the fabric those machines were sewing. And even then, we're not looking directly at the fabric so much as we are looking at the retail ecosystem that moves that fabric from creation to consumer. We have a few more topics on our list for future episodes that get more into fabric history, so consider this to be an initial jumping off point for an ongoing conversation that will come back over this season.
Fabric retail fail. Fabric stores. I think a lot of our listeners in the U.S., at least, who are, let's say over 40 or 50, will remember the golden age of fabric stores. They were everywhere. Every store had a fabric department, even Sears and Penny's and Woolworths. And so fabric was in a lot of places, and there were also stores that were just fabric. The Singer stores of old also had fabric and zippers and scissors and all the things, fabric that you would need, along with the sewing machines. So sewing machines and fabric, how do you get the customer in to see new machines? Have notions that she's going to need. Because we used to joke when I was in fabric retail that if there was a 24-hour fabric store, it would pay for itself. People sew at all hours, and you run out of red thread or whatever it is. Or you just enjoy fabric stores. So fabric stores, like other capitalist things, the big ones ate the small ones. Just like the big sewing machine manufacturers ate up all the small ones. When I first moved back to Eugene, Oregon, 1983, there were a lot of little independent fabric stores, and there were a couple of chain fabric stores. One was in the mall. Okay, well, that's cool. There's everything in the mall. Underwear, pets, ice cream, fabric. What do you got? Sunglasses. There's a kiosk for everything.
Sure, yeah. It's the mall.
And I went in there, and fabric stores, first thing you notice when you walk in, they're really quiet. Fabric soaks up a lot of sound.
Truly. They're like libraries.
Yes, very much. I hadn't thought of it. And there's usually some cheesy store music playing. I freaking hate store music.
It's not great.
So I came back to Eugene, and I'm looking for a fabric store. Well, there's a nice little indie one just 2 blocks from my house. It was called Home Fabric. It's where the Meridian is now, 18th and Willamette. But I went there a lot just because it's only girls, and it's quiet and lots of colors, and you can sit and look at the fabric book and maybe buy a few things. It was like definite retail therapy, girls club kind of thing. Well, then I heard there was a big fabric store out at the mall, so I went out to the mall. And among all the pet stores and clothes stores and what all, there it is, House of Fabric. And the logo is a little house shape like a kid would draw, but it's made out of fabric bolts in fun primary colors. Yeah. I loved it. I went in. It was quiet. I looked around. Hey, this is cool. Long, skinny store. Oh, sewing machines. And the big old sign over that department, Singer. And I went over just to look, and they had a table with trade-ins. I'm like 21, and all of a sudden this salesperson comes zooming over, which scares me away right away. No thanks, just looking, bye. Gonna go get an ice cream cone, buy some fish. I don't know. Time went by, and then House of Fabrics moved. Now this is important. In the 80s, consolidation was, everything was big, everything was large. It's morning in America. The little fabric kiosk store moved into a big box. Moved into a huge box. They knocked out, it was in the strip mall side of the mall, across the street from the main thing. Valley River Center. The whole deal. Well, here we are. We're right next to a Buy Mart, which is cool, and a Stretch and Sew, which is another fabric store. We're right next to it. But it's a whole different, it's all knits, and it's a whole different deal. So here we are. Huge fabric store. Huge. 27. Usually there's 12 employees on the floor, and maybe double that on the weekend sale days. We had a lot of people. We had a lot of customers. We made a lot of money.
Wow.
It was a national chain, and it was biggerizing.
Yeah, that sounds like some Lorax stuff right there.
Oh, absolutely.
Bigger and bigger. Business is business, and business must grow.
Business must grow. Incorporated 1946, House of Fabrics, one of the largest sewing and craft retailers in the United States. I'm reading from a business encyclopedia thing. This specialty retailer sells mid-price fabrics, crafts, notions, and sewing machines. House of Fabrics buys finished goods directly from mills and sells them in retail outlets. Stores west of the Rockies operate as House of Fabrics, Fabric Land, or Fabric King. Stores in other parts of the United States operate under House of Fabrics or Sofro, which is the name of the brothers that started it. Okay, historically purchased goods right from the mills and manufacturers, right? We're a huge chain. We need 8,000 yards of that. Okay, cool. We'll dial up their looms and we'll weave that for you.
Sure.
Until 1996, the retailer operated a processing and warehousing facility in South Carolina.
Okay.
After 96, House of Fabrics outsourced its processing and warehousing. Fabric retailing is a cyclical business. As we've talked about, first quarter is spring and Easter clothes. Third quarter is back to school and Halloween. Fourth quarter is Christmas. The summer is like... nobody's sewing, so. Sewing and social changes in the 1970s. So here they were, putting along. 1976 marks the beginning of an industry-wide shakeout. Societal changes affect fabric retailers profoundly. Now go ahead and read sewing machines into this too. Traditionally, most customers of fabric retail were women. As more women entered the workforce during the 1970s, they had less time for sewing. Retail clothing stores also began stocking less expensive, imported ready-to-wear items and specialty sizes, women's plus and petite. Thus, economics and availability lessened the need for women to sew clothes, and fewer women were skilled at sewing anymore. Despite these changes, 70% of House of Fabrics fabric sales came from garment fabrics in 1978. So still, it's a fabric store. 70% of the stuff is fabric. Sales for the company remained strong through the 70s and 80s. Now let me just remind folks, I got hired to work at House of Fabrics in June of 1986. I was hired to work in the sewing machine department, which at that time was a not really a subsidiary. It like rented space or had some kind of agreement with House of Fabrics, but we were a separate thing in the fabric store. I didn't cut fabric or anything. 1980s, performing well in trying times. House of Fabrics, nevertheless, embarked on a total makeover through a 7-year plan starting in 1984. So you can see that I'm caught up in the 7-year plan. At the plan's beginning, most fabric outlets were in 4,400 square foot stores in malls, right? And that's what I had seen. I moved back to Eugene in 1983, and that's what was in Valley River Center, was a House of Fabrics in a mall. The makeover plan called for a development of 12,000 square foot freestanding superstores. That's 3 times bigger.
Bigger and bigger and bigger.
So we were a freestanding superstore. We used to call it House of Flab Stupid Store. House of Fabric Superstore. There was some silly commercial. Anyway,
I mean, the name Superstore is just so ominous. That's just so bleak.
We had the house. So the new store had the huge green House of Fabrics logo with the little fabric bolt house. And then underneath that in big red, it was Superstore. So there were, I can't remember how many superstores. There were still kiosks in little towns. Okay, by 1988, man, I am a manager in 1988. I was flying. 42% of all House of Fabrics outlets were superstores.
Wow.
Contributing 51% of the profits, or the sales, and 48, a whole fuck ton of money.
Fuck the numbers. It was a lot.
It was a lot. Basically, their 7-year plan of building superstores paid off. That's the whole gist of that. House of Fabrics reported a record year in 1985. Still chaired by a member of the founder family, Barney Sofro.
Wow.
I met this guy.
Really?
Okay, a little aside here, folks. Here comes my district manager, Mr. Suit. He comes there. Barney, Mr. Sofro is going to visit this. We were the top performing store in our region. So he's flying out from east somewhere to our store. The customers don't know. They're all doodling around, and here comes this, I don't remember what he arrived in. It was him and a bunch of other guys, and they're all wearing suits, and he's wearing this, like, he looks like a nerd. He's got a Jufro and kind of mismatched. He looks like Woody Allen, really, without the glasses. Wow. And my district manager takes me aside as Mr. Sofro is touring the fabric and better dress and notions. He says, I want you to do a demonstration for Mr. Sofro. What? This guy's the chairman of the board, and you want me to... Oh, I said, which machine? I'm used to taking requests. You can't scare me. What do you want to hear? What key?
Sure.
He says, show him the 68. It's the 6268 Ultra Unlimited, top of the line. I told a story about this in one of our first episodes. I'm a whiz on this thing by now.
Oh, that was the one your very first sale was, right?
Yes, that one, the space shuttle.
So now you're familiar with it at this point because the first sale is a bit in the background.
I managed to sell about one a month, which is pretty good. You know, I won several sales contests while I was there. Anyway, at this point, my star is on the rise, and I'm wearing an outfit I sewn from, there it is right there. It's new fabric and new pattern. I'm a walking billboard for House of Fabric Superstore. Man. Mr. Sofro, would you like to see a demonstration of our top of the line? Well, yes, I would. And I sit him down and I use my best, hi, welcome to the Starlight Lounge. Would you like to see our wind in place bobbin? How about the buttonhole? And I handed him a perfect demo pack, and he got up and he touched my boss's shoulder and he says, give that girl a raise. So that's my Barney Sofro story. He didn't know anything. He didn't know anything about sewing machines. He knew nothing. He was a businessman. I just treated him like he was buying it for his wife.
Wow.
Which I didn't even know if he had a wife, but I was just doing my best demo, you know.
You were demoing what you do to customers.
Yeah.
And he was like, I approve of that. I don't have to know anything to know that is a sound business investment to keep that one around.
I was on commission. I didn't get a raise. That just, didn't have to sell more
he
stuff.
didn't have to know details. It was a vibes thing.
Yeah. So I passed. So that was 1988. And it was, the top of my arc there. The zenith.
Yeah.
In 1988, fabric retailing was a $3.5 billion industry, but had experienced zero growth in 12 years. Fabric retail outlets declined through the United States. Even major department stores such as JCPenney eliminated their fabric departments. Remember how I said every little store had a fabric department? Payless. But Mr. Sofro, remember I told you he didn't know anything about sewing machines?
Yeah.
He remained optimistic for the industry. The fabric business is alive and well, he told Forbes in 1988. It's been on the scene for thousands of years and it will be around forever.
I mean, he's not wrong at a very philosophical, esoteric level, but I don't know that that was a solid business decision.
Fabric has not been around for thousands of years, let alone fabric retail.
Yeah. The concept of garments, yes, but your business, no.
So you can see why maybe he didn't make some sound business decisions. He's not the sharpest needle in the pack here. Okay. In order to compete more effectively in this changing environment, House of Fabrics realigned its buyers. I do remember this. In 1986, all of the company's fabric buyers were males, except one. In 1988, though, the company selected fabric for its stores through a team of men and women, parentheses, since most customers were women, the company felt that a team including females might better reflect customer preferences.
Do you think water is wet also? Like, what other brilliant observations are these people going to come up with?
Oh, my God. The chauvinism and mansplaining that our, quote, higher-ups subjected us to was, I mean, we found ways to get even. Anyway, House of Fabrics also began in-store classes to attract more people to the dying art of sewing. Yeah, we did. And, it was the 80s, and this was a place where the born-again women could come, that their husbands would let them go out without supervision because there's going to be no men in that store. It's a fabric store. So every night at 7 o'clock, time for the whatever, toll painting or whatever class it was going to be. Here they come in minivans with surreptitious bottles of wine. Women will speak over their sewing circles because the husbands aren't there. The things we heard, oh my gosh, these are your church. I mean, the whole born-again thing was huge in the 80s, the Reagan administration.
Right. The trad wives of their day.
Yes. And they still found a safe place to talk in the fabric store.
I wonder how different that is for trad wives now, given the, subsequent 30 some odd years, 30 to 40 years of loss of sewing as a skill and sewing stores as a place.
As a place to hang out, yeah.
Because the internet is tracked, like the sewing stores.
Oh, yeah. To further ensure prosperity in a changing market, House of Fabrics revised its marketing mix. 50% of the company's sales came from fabric in 1988, but 50% of that fabric was sold for home decoration or was related to the holidays instead of material for garments and clothing. Notions accounted for 42% of sales and 11% was craft items. House of Fabrics entered the 1990s in good standing. Okay, I quit halfway through December of Well, you were, I think it was the same weekend you were conceived. 1989, late December. I was all high on quitting. I think that's why I chased your dad down like a rabbit.
Like, I need to like cap off this victory.
Decline begins in 1991. Now, I was still making visits out to the store to see friends that still work there and take you out so they could...
I remember going there a lot.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
the sight and the sound and the smell and the
Yes.
comfort and the way that you moved through it like it was just your house. Like,
Oh, my God.
I remember the vibe very specifically.
Wow, that's a cool memory. I moved through it like it was my house. I spent 3.5 really intense years there, my mid-20s. So in 1991, House of Fabrics purchased Fabric Land in a hostile takeover. They were our competition. They were over on River Road. They were a Portland-based chain, 86 stores. House of Fabrics was national.
Right.
We bought them. But the company's earnings after the acquisition were far below expected levels, and House of Fabrics stock fell dramatically. A former Fabric Land board member explained people were very excited by the acquisition of Fabric Land, and that's one of the reasons stocks went wild, but the companies have not worked out well. I don't think they achieved the economy of scale of which they were hoping.
Maybe bigger isn't always better. Maybe diversity in your sourcing and methods and people and structures is actually a good thing.
A tough patch. In 1993, House of Fabrics was forced to close 110 underperforming mall stores, those little ones, in order to maintain the superstores. Ooh, bigger, more. The fabric industry was oversaturated with stores at this time, early 90s. The economy was sluggish and nobody was sewing clothes anymore. House of Fabrics responded by closing 200 more stores, including 120 superstores. This is when my old store closed, 1994. They bulldozed it and put in a Barnes & Noble.
Oh.
Yeah, just bulldozed it flat because it was a fairly unsafe building that had been cobbled together. We had electrical problems all the time. So just knock it over and build something better. Then it goes on to say their operating methods worked against them. They were one of the last retailers to computerize and track inventory.
Oh, yeah, that'll bite you in the ass in the 90s.
And then they started trying to restructure and close stores. And in 1996, another 86 stores were closed. I don't know if they're any more open. They were based in Sherman Oaks, California. I kind of lost track of them. Now, people go, oh, well, who's your fabric sales in Lane County now? Because that's what I'm talking about from my own experience, Lane County. We used to have a lot of independent stores, and then we had 3 chain stores, which was Fabric Land, House of Fabrics, and Best, which became Joann's. I don't quite know how that worked. Okay, now 35 years later, Joann's ate all of them. And now Joann's is going bankrupt.
Wow.
There's a whole furor. The store in Yuma here has been closed for years. They've been going through the same thing. Closing, restructuring. This is their second bankruptcy. The real telling thing is you cannot buy a Joann Fabric gift card because they won't be able to redeem them. And all the stores look like a tornado's hit them. They're dumping inventory. The employees are being kept in the dark. I'm getting all of this off of a Reddit.
Wow.
Where are you going to buy your fabric now?
I mean, I went into a Joann's in my college town just a few years ago, and we had to walk for, I swear, 1,000 miles before we actually got to sewing supplies. It was just aisles upon aisles upon aisles of random craft objects
Crafts.
that I would never have associated with like the sewing store that you were taking me to when I was a little tiny kid. Like,
Yeah.
I had to walk for 1,000 miles before we got anywhere near fabric.
Yeah.
It was really weird, and nobody was back there except for one very lonely, sad employee who was extremely excited that I needed to buy something.
Oh, you want to buy fabric? Oh my God, let me get my scissors. Where's the scissors? Where's the good scissors?
But it was such a different vibe than what I remembered,
totally.
from 30 years prior to that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's not surprising to me to hear that they're going bankrupt and exploding, but also it is like, wow, what an end of an era.
End of an era. So now who's left?
And especially with the part where they zoomed up all the little ones and now they're dying. Yeah, who is left? Who could possibly be left?
Who is left? Well, there used to be in Eugene a mill-end store where they sold all kinds of weird fabric stuff. That's been gone forever.
Because of outsourcing, making there be no need for a mill.
Yeah, there was, and what's left is a very few little quilt shops. And they carry quilt fabric. They don't carry denim.
And they don't
Felt.
carry notions either. I went into
Or
a quilt shop
notions.
once looking for a zipper because, God forbid, I try to get an object from a brick and mortar store. I had to order zippers from Amazon because the one store that was in range didn't have what I needed. They were just like, no, we don't carry zippers, period. Like, there are no zippers here. Like, I tried.
In a notions and fabric desert, there are some really good sources that are not Amazon. Sewingpartsonline.com is a really good one. I'll send you some more for links in the show notes.
Yeah, links in the show notes
for
sure.
Where I get sewing notions. And if I have to buy new fabrics, where do I buy them? Well, a couple different places. If you really got to have some fuchsia spandex, there's a place in Seattle that sells theatrical fabric. And these places are all, you get free shipping with Prime. What's it worth to pay $6 or $7 to keep a small business afloat? That's a latte, folks. Make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Make a choice.
Yeah.
Don't buy on price. Buy on, who's going to be there for you. Your locals. If you don't buy gas at your local station, even though it's $1 more than in town, it ain't going to be there next year. God help you if you run out of gas, right? So support your little stores. Which ones are left? And the ones that are usually are really working on building good customer relations. And how often do you have to buy stuff? Maybe not that often. So that's where classes really come in. Because then you get the customers to come back to the store and pay for a class, and they're going to buy stuff while they're there. So this little community building around smaller fabric stores. There's even one in Christmas Valley now. I haven't checked it out yet, but a lady started a quilt store in her barn, and it's open 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I cannot wait to go check it out and give her my card and talk some featherweight.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right, is in a desert where there is nothing, people will figure out a way to start building it, right? If there's no one to compete with, then that means someone can be enterprising and set something up in their barn for 3 hours a day and have it go from there.
Oh, yeah. Now, when we get to the episode where we talk about Little House on the Prairie, that'll be the beginning of our thread of fabric retail. Where did Ma get their fabric? How did the fabric get out there? And how did they sew it? And I ordered the whole set of books, the 1971 ones, because
the nostalgia, the problematic nostalgia.
They're going to smell great. Yeah, there's some problematic stuff, but there's also some really good stuff.
No, the part where it's the memoir of a little girl experiencing the world it's valuable source material, despite all of the caveats that come along with that.
Yeah, the racism is thick, and not just towards natives. They talk about moving to Minnesota and the Norwegians are jabbering in their funny language.
I love old-timey racism.
And so, basically they're English, and they're always very aware. Charles is always saying Caroline is so good at this because she's a Scotch woman. So they're
right.
The whole book, it attributes things to people because of where they're from. Well, she thinks she's fancy because she's English from New York, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we'll get to that fabric retailing on the frontier when I get my My Little House on the Prairie books with all the cute little
Fun.
illustrations. I don't think there's an
look forward
illustration
to
of the
that.
sewing machine. Yeah, that'll be fun. So, what's your lesson for today? Big fabric stores ate up little fabric stores, and now big fabric stores are dying. And that means little fabric stores are starting to grow again. So if you have one near you, break my rule. Go buy some stuff.
It's different when you're helping a small brick and mortar get going. It's the rules
true.
are different. Because that's the thing is there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. There's only slightly less terrible than what you were doing before.
Yeah.
So, like it matters where you put your attention and your energy, and there are no perfect choices. So, finding something better is the best you can hope for.
If your fabric store offers some kind of a class, my God, take it. Because now you're just buying someone's knowledge. There's no doodads or gewgaws involved. Keep sharing that knowledge. Keep an eye on your bobbin thread. Stay threaded.
Bye.
Bye.
And there you have it. Another series of personal recollections around TR's lived experience of fabric retail's decline in the late 1980s, which strayed into the unexpected territory of impressing Mr. Barney Sofro, even though he didn't know anything about the product his company sold. My two big takeaways from this episode are, 1, the way that retail locations have changed in style and importance over the last 40 years, and 2, secondhand retail is inherently a more temporally disorganized stash than new fabric retail, with possible finds from across decades of manufacturing. Both of these things can really influence how people even can engage with fabric retail, assuming that they want to, assuming that they have ample funds. You might have a genuinely more enjoyable and productive fabric acquisition mission going secondhand just because they don't make stores or fabric like they used to. I am only a millennial. How am I entering my old man yelling at cloud era already? I am really looking forward to our future episodes on fabric whenever they come up. And I am also looking forward to when TR is back up here in Oregon and we can go fabric hunting together. And you can look forward to next week's episode, where we get pretty philosophical about this podcast and our motivations behind making it. I swear, we started on solid ground, but by the end, we were definitely out in space. So stay tuned for that. As a reminder, we are unofficially sponsored by Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, who do repairs and restorations. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can support us by sharing the podcast with your friends and also with money at patreon.com/used2sew. Thank you for listening to us here at Used to Sew. We always welcome your additions, corrections, and feedback in general. Please reach out to us via email at used2sew@gmail.com. Used to Sew is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.